You think there's an afterlife, Mario?
An afterlife? I think so. I think there is some type of after this.
What is it?
I think this is all a simulation. I think we're gonna be the Rick, the Morty that takes off the. I lived a whole life. I had a family, and remember? It's like, yeah, it sucks. And Rick is like, yeah, it sucks. It's from 2020 or whatever. Like,
Roy.
Yeah, I forget what he says, but I think there is something afterwards. If you ask me, is it like heaven? Is it like all your favorite places, all your families there, and everything like that? I don't think so. I think that the world, the energy we come from, that gives us our consciousness, is derived from a very like complex set of concepts or connections that your brain is making. I mean, just by knowing that you can, kind of like something that Neal said on the last podcast, is that if somebody hits you over the head hard enough, you're no longer you anymore. You kind of like lose the part of you that made you you. You know what I mean? Like, you could be a mental health patient all of a sudden, like if a boxer, you ever seen those boxer videos where like they get hit in the back of their head and then like a week later they're like not there anymore, they're like they can't box and stuff, they're just
or even
so,
scarier,
like,
you could just have a stroke and suffer the same fate. So it's like, you never know,
like the very complex mechanisms that make you is honestly like a machine. And if you fucking go into there and mix around the wires, you get a whole new thing. And it's not operating like you used to be. You know what I mean? And that happens to be something that I think is very special. And it's so interesting how humans can develop or operate in the way they do. And I think that's a mystical thing that the universe has bestowed on us to observe itself in some way, because we're not detached from the universe, but we also see it as not part of us. We see it as this external thing, and we observe it and we analyze it and call it the universe. But I mean, it's also language. It's also like these concepts we made up to understand the world, which it's hard to think that we can just be like, oh yeah, there's definitely a Jesus that's gonna be waiting for me after I die.
Well, let me tell you what I think. I think that the afterlife still exists. It's this. You're just not there as a consciousness. Like you're saying, you hit with a lead pipe in the head, you're not really Mario anymore. So when you die, it's not that there's an afterlife that you go to. Life still exists while you're gone. And that's the afterlife. It'll still be here as a construct of itself, still learning to understand itself in a different form. And it won't be your exact collect consciousness. And all these electronic recordings we make or physical recordings we make are forever going to be echoes of that. And they can help the next versions of the consciousness, which I find fascinating because that's really the symbolism of language. But notwithstanding, life itself will continue after you. That's afterlife, right? Your consciousness just won't be there to experience it. That's really hard for the ego to take a bite out of because we want to be the thing that matters the most. And as soon as you're like, oh no, that's not what's going to happen. You're not going to, nothing's going to happen. It's like, this is just my opinion. The way that, like Bill Burr says, the Baptists, it's like, well, what was life like before you got here? It's like nothing. You didn't have consciousness. And it's like, why would we assume that since we now do, it'll always exist? It's like, we're just a crazy combination of all sorts of gases and molecules, right? It's crazy.
Did you see the new John Wick?
No,
it's fucking good.
Is it good?
It's fucking.
I know the spoiler, but I don't. I guess I'll have to watch it because it's the last one. But I just was never really. The first one was they couldn't have stopped at the first one, but I thought they should have. It was one of those movies that was just like too good,
Really?
I was like, yeah, because you have an epic. I mean, the fourth chapter.
There's a scene in that movie where John Wick goes to the hospital before the big fight. I mean, goes to the church because his wife died, and he pays his respect. And one of the guys that are after him to murder him so they can collect the bounty asks him, do you think she hears you? And he says, no. And then the guy says, why are you here then? In case I'm wrong. And I thought that was so clever. In case I'm wrong, I'm going to go to church and pay my respects before I go through this fight that I might die, So in case I'm wrong, I'll pray. In case I'm wrong, I will pray for forgiveness. But do I believe it? No, I'm just doing it just in case.
Right. I feel that
I
same
like
way,
that.
but like trying to reconcile with your own conscience.
Yeah.
Like, you can tell your conscience not to react to things. That's how people get desensitized to stuff. And it's like, if you silence that voice for long enough, that's the same thing. I think is not praying for forgiveness. Because like, you do have to. That's the thing that's kept you alive up to this point. So you want to respect that. It's like even if you've almost made it a couple times, it's like your conscience is the thing that somehow lets you act without worry. So you're in your known area, but it's like, I don't know, you don't want to silence that.
Usually Grant opens a question like that so that he can have the answer.
Yeah, what do you think?
What is it? What do you think, Grant?
What do I think?
What happens after death?
What happens after death? Well,
the question you just asked me.
Yeah, is there an afterlife?
Both of
your perspectives are interesting. Well, I think what you said
does Jesus Christ exist, and did he rise again?
I think your mic is a little low.
Maybe.
You want to?
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe I just need to talk.
It seems like.
I mean, you can bring it up right there. I don't know which one it is.
I don't know.
Check. Oh, it must be one. Just a little bit. There you go.
Test.
There you go.
Whatever.
All right.
Is there an afterlife? I don't know.
Yeah, for you.
No, I don't know.
Is there?
I think. That's hard to answer because I think an afterlife implies that things are revolving around the conscious entity. So to say an afterlife implies that the conscious individual is continued outside of a host in a way. You know what I mean? Which is to say, like, because you think of yourself as a conscious individual, Mario, and you are a specific conscious individual. So does that specific conscious individual continue outside of your specific form when it no longer is the form that it is?
And it barely does well it does, because people are always going to interpret you as however they see the world, not even how you really are, right? So like even that. But you're right. All your writings, all your creativity will not be your experience again because your entity will be gone. So
what's either one of the two. Like,
so what are you saying?
The two camps are either you're of the advocate of like you're a conscious entity and the whole environment moves around you, which is like, okay, I'm going to go to hell, or I'm going to go to heaven, which essentially like means that the universe really revolves around you, and you are this thing that the universe exists for. The universe exists for your individual self, and the universe is going to give you these different environments according to you, because you're the host. You as an individual are the source, versus the universe being the source, and you're just like a participant in the universal mind, in the universal consciousness. Because if it's the former, then that means that all of us are the hosts of our own consciousness. And if it's the latter, it means that we are participants in the host, when the host would be the layer, the thing that's underneath us all. So like one would be saying, like one's imagining in a way to like put it more imaginatively, or to like paint a picture, it would be like one would be saying like, okay, you have a landscape, and the conscious individuals that we are the things that pop up within that landscape, like little clay formations. If the whole thing was made out of clay, you're like the little things that pop up into that clay formation, and when you cease to exist, you go back into the clay formation, because that's the thing that is hosting you. And so you as an individual are not the conscious all of the whole. You're just a temporary representation of something. And when you're done, when you die, you go back into that hole. So is there an afterlife for you? No, because the afterlife is, like what Neal said, the continuation of all consciousness, all vibration, any individual. So it's not about you, the specific individual. It's about the consciousness of the whole. So that would be like what Neal's referring to, which is I tend to agree to more because I tend to like see what I think is source material, which is not me as an individual, but a field that I come from and that I am a representation of, a field of energy, a field of potential.
I come from.
I
know. No, it's right, because life is existing on all sorts of other planets across the universe right now.
Right.
So like,
but the opposite would be the other option would be to say that you are the individual and that the universe is kind of working around you as a host. And that means so as you die, everything's going to shift around you and create a new environment, like a video game. Because when you play a video game, the game console is the host. And the game console is obviously the environment around it, but more importantly, it's your character. So when you, it's not loading all of the game. When you walk into a new environment, the game puts the game around you as the character, because the character is what's most important.
Mm-hmm.
And so you either think that the game doesn't exist outside of you as the individual and that it's loading around you. And as you move through the game, the universe is giving you it to you because you're the host. Or you think you are a part of the game and the game exists whether or not you're in it. So you could die as an individual, but the landscape and everything, I'm sure right now. The landscape and everything in it.
Morty, use that later for your sound bites.
Your idea.
The landscape or everything in it is moving. So, what do I think? I think,
but isn't it kind of both? I mean, due to the observer effect, it's like how much of the universe exists until a conscious entity is actually observing it.
We have to. Well, I mean, essentially, what we're asking is what do I think? What do I think? Is there an afterlife? Yes.
What do I think?
And I think there is an afterlife from both ends, which is one, yes, there's an afterlife for the whole, which is that we as individual perspectives are constantly popping up into existence within the whole. But then as an individual, you are a waveform that will also pop up continually again and again and again within different expressions as those waveforms manifest in different ways. Just in the same way that we can put an antenna up right now and you pick up the audio of a particular frequency, there will be something in the future that puts up a particular form of energy and it will pick up the waveform of Mario and it'll be your characteristics. It'll be some type of energy of you. It might even be your physical form and it'll be you, but it'll be you in a different expression. And so in that way, I think that's how the universe recreates you into different environments. So in that way, yes, you will be reincarnated and you will be reiterated and
well, the question then becomes, do you believe in a soul?
Re-emancipated.
Because what you're talking about is a soul. Because it's what you're really trying to do.
Religious concept?
And that's the most egoic thing you could subscribe to, in my opinion, because the ego wants to say that outside of itself, the consciousness that is this phenomenon that is obviously sustaining itself, but through science we've now proven has arisen in many different, just look at all the species on Earth alone. It's just because we got to this point by whatever means genetically that we can actually understand what's happening. It's just Rick and Morty is so apropos because it's always like that towards these things that are coming to the understanding of how amazing they are and then they get wiped out. It's do we want to be, I forget what he calls it, but a level whatever species where we get off the planet and have multiple planets we go back and forth to, because that's the next probable thing to be able to do. And it's if you could look, 1,000 years into the future, language has only been around for so long, written language, people have only been able to read the internet. It's moving fast. So it wouldn't, but it's still slow. We're doing missions to other planets, going back to the moon and stuff with Artemis. That's the new one that's going in this year, next year. And it's it's like years out between the launches to send these people because, you know, they don't want to make any mistakes. So they're willing to double check all the shit, make sure it's like they're willing to wait, you know. And if that day comes and it's bad conditions, they won't launch. Anyways, point is your consciousness itself doesn't matter nearly as much as do you help the species, like the collective consciousness of the most elevated creatures, because we might run into something that's just so amazing that blows our minds, you know, to where it's like something reaches us and like, no, you guys don't get it. You are monkey people on the monkey planet, and just like pick us all up with their hands and like, you get in here, and they throw us in like a little trailer and take us back to their planet, and now we're like food and because we don't even get it. Yeah, they don't even get it. We've just been a food farm for 6 million years.
When Grant said channels, I feel like you know how the antenna and linking into a particular frequency that, you know, you could see on your TV. I got, and I thought got kind of triggered was that, you know how there used to be TV, which there is still now. You know, you can have an antenna and pick up television, you know, but all those are kind of dying out because of online, but they're all just doing the same thing they do on TV on YouTube. So like that kind of symbolizes in some way the afterlife. It's like, hey, they kind of died out in this you know, universe, and they went into a new universe where everything is all in one package. It's a whole new universe of YouTube that is this just megalithic super hub of new channels you can directly go to and just get content off of their production versus flipping all the channels and seeing what's on now. You know what I mean? Versus thinking that it just goes away or it becomes part of like, I don't know, religious doctrine in some way. But that was cool. That's interesting. I mean, we all have our own perspective, and I think that's great. I mean, diversity in concepts of afterlife gears your own perspective of what you represent in life now. And I feel like it is a factor on how you operate in life now. Because if you think there is an afterlife, you want to do what's best now to then reach that point. And I think the religion got that right. You know what I mean? Like, you want to do good so that you can, you know, have a good afterlife. You know, like, I think they got that idea. It's just that they kept loading more and more things on, like, what you have to do to then go to heaven. Or, like, just be a good person. Don't harm people and murder. You know what I mean? Like, but they can't, no, don't jerk off, no gays, no this, no that. It's like, oh, okay, you fucking calm down. You know what I mean? Like, now you're fucking just trying to control
like
shit.
In Iran, they're still making them wear the hijab.
Yeah.
And it's like crazy. It's like there's whole entire countries, Afghanistan, where like women are completely suppressed. So the fact that we're even talking about trans rights at this stage is like, we're so far ahead of the curve, progressive in all sorts of ways, technology and being able to use the internet. Like a lot of countries still don't have, I mean, not a lot, but, you know, more people in the world probably don't have internet, I'd be willing to guess, than do right now. So,
Yeah.
We're in a whole nother era.
Yeah, in fact, I wanted to go into
your fucking headdress to their wife, and they're like, "Oh God, I don't want to die." You know, like these guys are fucking crazy.
Yeah,
we're just raised that way, dude. Just like, it's not their fault.
I mean, barbarian.
They saw their dads fucking slap their moms.
Exactly. But